It's been mostly complicated and sometimes heated between the People's Republic of China, or PRC, and the United States of America since the founding of the PRC and the move of the government of the Republic of China to Taiwan in 1949. This has always been the case since the link was made. They're also competing to be the world's most powerful superpower, even though they have a lot in common and are very closely connected. Hello friends, today we'll tell you about the U.S. laser aircraft carrier that's ready to beat China. So without further ado, let's get started. It seems like both the U.S. and China are always getting ready for the war they think they'll have. In a threat, Frank Kendall, Secretary of the Air Force, said that China is making its military stronger in case it came into conflict with the U.S. Besides that, he said the U.S. needs to make the most of its troops fighting the growing threat. Kendall made it clear that war is not inevitable, but he also said that the U.S. should be ready for a kind of war we have no modern experience with. This is what Kendall said at the Air and Space Forces Association Warfighter Symposium in National Harbor, Maryland. "Our job is to deter that war and to be ready to win if it occurs," Kendall said. "We're all talking about the fact that the Air and Space Forces must change, or we could fail to prevent and might even lose a war." That is when we're introduced to the USS Gerald R. Ford. The Navy spent $13 billion on this new aircraft. This cutting-edge tool might be able to save it. The first launch of the U.S. aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, happened on October 4th. This was during a time of rising tensions in the Pacific and uncertainty about the role that these huge ships would play in the future of war. Even though Ford was being built since 2008, the Navy didn't use it until 2017. After waiting for 5 years, she's finally going to start her first mission. The Ford is likely the most expensive ship ever built, even if you don't count the cost of the planes, weapons, and guards. It costs $13.3 billion. 5 acres of space are used for the flight deck, which is full of cutting-edge technologies that will make it, and other carriers like it, the most powerful planes in the world well past the year 2050. There are 4 groups of fighters and many support and tactical aircraft on board, so the ship can hold up to 90 planes. More than 60 planes can be carried by the ship as a whole. It has more stealth jets than all of Russia's armed forces put together, and its air power is stronger than that of at least 6 other countries. Ford is more than 9 stories above the water and weighs 97,000 tons. It's also more than 9 floors tall. Most of the warships that were used in World War II were 32,000 tons heavier than this weapon. But big doesn't always mean slow. The ship is driven by 2 advanced A-1B nuclear reactors. The Navy says that the ship has a total of 300 megawatts of electricity. This is almost 3 times as powerful as the regular supercarriers that are used in the U.S. right now. Ford has come up with a total of 23 new technologies. These include new dual-band radar, 4 new electromagnetically driven aircraft catapults, and new aircraft stopping gear that helps planes land safely. During the building and finishing stages of the ship, all 3 of them ran into major issues that caused delays and extra costs. Problems with the 11 advanced weapon elevators, which are also driven by electromagnetic energy, were the hardest to fix. The last lift was only fixed a year ago. The Gerald R. Ford is the first ship in its class and has a hospital on board. It has a full laboratory, pharmacy, operating room, critical care unit, and 3 beds, emergency room with 2 beds, and a hospital area with 41 beds. 11 medical officials and 30 hospital corpsmen work at the hospital. Not only is the new Bechtel A-1B reactor for the Gerald R. Ford class smaller and easier to use, it's also much more powerful than the Nimitz class A-4W reactor. It also needs fewer crew members. There will be 2 reactors on each Gerald R. Ford class carrier. These reactors will be able to produce at least 25% more power than the 2 A-4W reactors on a Nimitz class ship, which can produce 550 megawatts of thermal power. It will be made possible to use 3 times as much heat power to make electricity. The USS Ford went through a series of full ship shock trials in 2021. During these trials, bombs were set off close to the ship to see how it would react to a near miss while it was in battle. The carrier was able to pass a series of shock tests, which put the ship and its tools through a lot of physical stress. For these tests, 3 underwater bursts with 40,000 pounds of explosives each were used. However, China's made new anti-ship missiles, some of which that can move at speeds faster than Mach 5. These missiles could make Ford and the rest of the Pacific Fleet unable to do their normal jobs. The Congressional Research Service released a sobering report in August 2022 that says there are worries about the survivability of Navy surface ships in potential combat situations against adversaries such as China that are armed with large numbers of unmanned aerial vehicles or UAVs and anti-ship missiles, including advanced models. Russia has weapons that can travel faster than sound, but China is most worried about its Navy. In the past 10 years, the government has quickly expanded its naval fleet and made a lot of new anti-ship weapons, such as hypersonic missiles that can hit Mach 10 and are very maneuverable. China isn't trying to hide the fact that these weapons are meant to shoot down American ships. One of its testing grounds for weapons in the Taklamakan Desert has full-size models of U.S. aircraft carriers for target practice. China's buildup is happening at a very important time in the history of the area. The government says it controls almost the whole South China Sea, which goes out thousands of miles past its borders. There's a lot of disagreement about these lines. International law only accepts territorial claims 12 nautical miles out to sea. Jason Lyons, a retired Marine and former CIA officer, says that our trading partners in the area depend on our military presence to keep the lines of communication open. China's anti-ship weapons and drones can now hit the Pacific Fleet, leaving it unable to defend itself or launch a counterattack. Neither of the fighters on the U.S. flat tops can reach targets more than 700 miles away. We're not the only ones having trouble with that. There's a collapse of meaning. Ford and other ships like it have anti-missile weapons on them. The Navy is putting a lot of faith in a new technology called the laser that's been out of reach for decades in order to keep its ships alive and keep dominating the Pacific. The benefits make you want to do it. Lasers shoot at the speed of light, which is faster than hypersonic weapons. They can quickly reload to defend against groups of drones, and they don't need ammunition stores, so ships can fire them almost whenever they want. In the latest fight between the two superpowers, China's Ministry of Defense criticized a Pentagon study that showed China's growing military power and nuclear weapons. We express our strong dissatisfaction and resolute opposition to this report, Defense Minister spokesperson Wu Qian said in a statement, describing the report as exaggerated hype about a non-existent Chinese military threat. Wu said that China's growing military power was important for protecting the country's interests and keeping people from starting new wars. Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall says that getting ready for war is very important because China is rapidly building up its military and has created 2 new branches, one to defend aircraft carriers, airfields, and other important assets, and the other to gain control of information in cyberspace and the space domain. Kendall agrees with other Pentagon and U.S. military experts who say that a fight with China could happen this decade. Things are getting worse between the U.S. and China because of rising tensions over Taiwan, which Beijing sees as originally part of the Chinese mainland. That's it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like and comment down your thoughts on this. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.